Listen up and listen good. I voted for you because of your no tax on overtime bill, amongst other things. But here's the deal. I just read your great big beautiful bill, and it's bullshit.
I read the bill so you guys don't have to read the bill. But I came with some of my key points that's in the bill. So, they're going to pass this bill, y'all. I don't care what they cut. They are determined to pass this bill. So get ready for $650 billion in Medicaid cuts. Get ready for $300 billion in SNAP cuts. Get ready for $350 billion in student aid loans. Get ready for them to take $50 billion from federal employees.
I need someone to help me make this big, beautiful bill make sense because I don't get it. I don't want arguments, but I do want to hear from people who support this bill. Genuinely, I need help understanding how you can support a bill that cuts healthcare for the poorest and sickest people in this country. I genuinely want help understanding how people can still support the theory of trickle-down economics when we have 40 years of precedent to show that it does not work. Help me understand how you can support a bill that will add $4 trillion to our deficit while hurting American citizens. This bill isn't about schmishmortion. It's not about illegal immigration. And again, the economic theory has 40 years of precedent to show that it doesn't work. So how is this going to fix our economy? Everything that I'm hearing from people who support this big, beautiful bill is the trickle-down economic theory of it. That again, we have 40 years of precedent to show it doesn't work. So there's got to be something else. There has to be some other really good thing about this bill where people would actually support removing healthcare from the poorest and sickest people in this country. And if it's so beautiful, why is it being debated in the shadows of the night? There is no actual emergency. Their deadline is completely made up, and they are trying to rush this through because if they go fast, maybe people won't notice the things in the bill. I've got to be missing something. So please help me understand. What is it that I'm missing?
We're not going to touch your Medicaid. We're not going to touch your Medicare.
Guarantee that Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security will not be touched.
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that.
Medicaid has never been on the chopping block.
I'm not going to vote for Medicaid cuts, benefit cuts.
You will see no cuts in Medicaid payments. Medicaid, none of that stuff.
Hello lovelies, welcome back again to my channel. It's so good to have you. Thank you so much for clicking when you saw this video. So have you ever imagined people who decided to vote against their own interests? That would be MAGAs, because these guys came out en masse to vote against their own interests, not minding if he promised to do what he's currently doing. Now they're about to cut Medicaid, and this is one thing that people like middle class people have used to manage their life, go to health care, have access to health care and all of that. And right now, if they have to cut that what amount from Medicaid, then a lot of people might end up losing healthcare, right? Or insurance, whatever. Well, I'm just going to let people's videos roll. Then we'll come back and talk more. Lots of MAGAs are not excited about this. Okay, I don't think anybody will. Well, I'm just going to let people's reaction roll. Then we'll come back and talk more. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Please go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Credit to all creators on this video. Let's go watch. Come back.
The big, beautiful bill that just passed in the House is also going after the judiciary, and not enough people are talking about it. This would effectively undo all the current wins against the administration and basically make all the injunctions against them unenforceable. I've talked about this before. They're going after the judicial branch. It is the one branch currently keeping the admin in check. This is incredibly important. This tiny little provision is buried on page 562 of the 1,118-page bill, one that most members of the House admittedly couldn't read in its entirety because they were changing it up to the very last second. Section 70302, restriction of funds. As you may know, most of the wins for the American people right now are happening in the courts. But that doesn't just happen magically. As I explained the other day, an entity has to sue the administration or the government if they believe that they have been harmed by a policy. And then the courts rule, and it often gets escalated to the Supreme Court, etc. But what the courts can do while things are being figured out is issue an injunction or a pause on whatever policy is believed to be harming people until it figures it out. Here's the thing. When an injunction or a temporary restraining order is issued, the plaintiff, that's the person who is suing, is often required to pay a fee, a
security or a bond. In case the defendant that is being injuncted against is being told that they have to stop what they're doing, actually wins the case so they can recoup some losses. However, in cases where the question is that of constitutionality, the bond or security is often just forfeited. Otherwise, what could happen is that only rich people could afford to sue the government and receive an injunction. Can the judge require like a $1 security or bond? Yes. However, if you look here, this would also be applied retroactively. So in all the cases where injunctions have been issued where no bond was required, which is just about all of them, they would no longer be able to enforce the injunction against the administration. Now, how can they do that in a budget bill? Well, great question. This is why it's so important for Congress to have the power of the purse, not the executive branch, assuming, of course, they wouldn't enable bad behavior. But at the very least, you can see how powerful this sort of control is. Because basically what they're saying is that the government can spend no money to enforce an injunction or temporary restraining order if the security or bond was not collected at the time of its issuance. So technically, they're being like, we're not being unconstitutional. What we're saying is that you're not allowed to spend any money on respecting the Constitution. If this were to be enacted, all the current injunctions against the administration would suddenly become unenforceable. Not that they're respecting them all now either, but this is part of that whole undermining the power of the judiciary, which is so important. It's literally part of what this whole country was founded on. Anyway, this whole thing still has to pass in the Senate. The Senate is making changes, so just letting you know, your senators may want to hear about this bit. Just saying.
Listen up and listen good. I voted for you because of your no tax on overtime bill, amongst other things. But here's the deal. I just read your great big beautiful bill, and it's bullshit. The overtime, no tax on overtime, this is the way it works in that bill. You ready for this shit? You get a $10,000 tax deduction at the end of the year for overtime, if you make less than $100,000. Well, let me tell you something, boys and girls. There are very few skilled tradesmen in this country, and I'm talking about construction workers, especially union construction workers, oil field workers, truck drivers. None of them will be eligible for that $10,000 deduction because it stops at $100,000. That's right, $100,000. Now that sounds like a lot of money if you're from Oklahoma, but let me tell you what, if you live in Washington, Idaho, Montana, California, Oregon, Colorado, even Texas, all the coastal states, New York through Florida, $100,000 is just an average wage for a skilled tradesman. Your welders, your pipe fitters, your good framing carpenters. That's just, that, it doesn't get you there. It doesn't get you there, which means we'll still be taxed on all of our overtime. 100%. This is bullshit. Now, if you're at the 7-Eleven and you're working overtime, you might have a chance. But this is not going to affect those of us in construction and manufacturing. It's just not. A good line welder, most of the country, you're talking $46, $55 an hour, okay? Even more in a coastal state, as much as $60 or $70 an hour. And you work 10, 12 hours a day. This big, beautiful bill is a big pile of bullshit for skilled tradesmen. I said what I said. Bring the fucking heat. And another thing, truck drivers work 70 hours a week, every week, and they don't get paid by the hour. There is no overtime. Bullshit. This is a bullshit bill, and it doesn't even come close to addressing the people who put you in office, which are the blue-collar workers of America. So, Donnie, I'm going to fucking go the other way with this one. With this one, you dropped the ball. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed, DJT. This is some fucking bullshit. If you don't fix this, you're going to lose this, bro. And tell your cronies in Congress, if they don't fix this, I guarantee you, 4 years from now, the majority of those seats will not be red. You pulled a lot of goddamn union brothers over to your side. And I appreciate your ideals most of the time. But this time, not so fucking much.
So most of these supporters right now are beginning to say, you know what, we don't support this particular one because it's going to affect them. You know how people are so excited if something is going to affect other people, but right now it is not happening to them or is affecting them directly. They are not coming out to speak out and feeling sad that they would have done better if they had known in the first place. That's exactly what's happening to these people, right? You voted for this, so you have to face the consequences and not complain. Whatever thing he does is to you, is on to you because you voted for it. This was the consequences that people were telling you about that was going to come. And no, you don't have right to say you are not happy with this because this was exactly what you wanted the day you went out on the polling unit to vote. I guess that's what everybody's trying to tell you all along.
So I just finished reading the big, beautiful bill that the Republicans are trying to pass. I read the bill so you guys don't have to read the bill. But I came with some of my key points that's in the bill. So they're going to pass this bill, y'all. I don't care what they cut. They are determined to pass this bill. So get ready for $650 billion in Medicaid cuts. Get ready for $300 billion in SNAP cuts. Get ready for $350 billion in student aid loans. Get ready for them to take $50 billion from federal employees. And they also say they're going to defund parenthood. I don't know, they just so obsessed with women having babies. Also, they're going to remove taxes on gun silencers, y'all. That's what they're removing taxes on. Also, there's no tax on tips, which is going to be in this bill, this one beautiful bill. It's only no tax on cash only. Cash only. So if you get credit card tips or anything, they still going to tax that. And if you're making up to $25,000, you got to claim that on your taxes and let your employer know how much your cash tips were for you to get the deduction. So it's not what it seems. It's a big, beautiful, dumb bill that's going to hurt America. Think about it. $350 billion in student aid is going to be taken away. So that means less people like me and less people like you ain't going to be able to afford to go to school. And if you do get a loan, you're going to be in debt for a long time. $650 billion worth of cuts to Medicaid. You know your grandma on Medicaid. You know your granddaddy, your children's, autistic children. A lot of those kids are on Medicaid, but yet they're going to cut $650 billion from Medicaid. That's crazy. Also, they taking away food, y'all. We're talking about food. $300 billion in SNAP cuts, y'all. That's food. That's what people just trying to survive who don't have nothing. They gonna take that away and make y'all starve anymore. This bill is ridiculous. It's more to this, but I just want to narrow it down so y'all can know what's coming because they gonna pass this bill. I guarantee you they gonna pass this bill. And also, guess who gained from this bill? Guess who gained? The rich is gonna get a $1.4 trillion tax cut. The rich. $1.4 trillion tax cut. So is this the big, beautiful bill y'all been waiting on? It's going to pass. If you're on Medicaid, you better start thinking about what you're going to do. If you get SNAP benefits, you better start thinking about what you're going to do. If you're trying to go to school, you can't get student loan aid, you better start finding out what you're going to do because it's finna get ugly. They finna take from the poor and really give to the rich right in front of our eyes. And I guarantee y'all, I don't care how many Republicans say they're not going to vote right now, but when that bill comes to the table, they're going to vote for it. So get ready, y'all. Get ready for this big, beautiful BS bill that's going to destroy a lot of people's lives just to get rich, just to find money from somewhere to give a $1.4 trillion tax cut to the rich. Make America great again. Make America fucking great again.
We're not going to touch your Medicaid. We're not going to touch your Medicare.
Guarantee that Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security will not be touched.
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that.
Medicaid has never been on the chopping block.
I'm not going to vote for Medicaid cuts, benefit cuts.
You will see no cuts in Medicaid payments. Medicaid, none of that stuff.
What was that about? We were fear-mongering. So it turns out the federal deficit will increase by $3.8 trillion. There will be a decrease in Medicaid of $698 billion. SNAP will decrease by $267 billion. And the lowest 10% of earners, the lowest, the people struggling the most, will have less resources. Their resources will decrease by 2%, and then that will increase to 4% after a few years. So the very poorest will become poorer, but the top 10% will increase their resources because of tax cuts by 4%. millions of people, including children, will lose their health care coverage. And there's something called the Pay As You Go Act. The Pay As You Go Act kicks in when there's a certain level of increase to the deficit that automatically requires spending cuts. That will cause a reduction in Medicare by 4% a year. So all the things that weren't going to be touched are getting touched. So at this point, if you still support this man, I can only think of a few reasons why that would be. Number one, you're the top 10%. And if you are, congratulations. I'm happy for you having more money. Just know that it came by way of poor people suffering. Or you support him still because he validates your racism and your hate for women. Or you just have mashed potatoes for brains.
So MAGA supporters are currently crying out because of all of these things that is currently happening. Some of them are about to lose their SNAP benefits. Okay, and Medicare, Medicaid is something that they have always, they have clinched to since the current administration removed Obamacare and all the rest of other, benefits. And right now, they are about to find out that they made a huge mistake or they never made a huge mistake, because a lot of them are crying out on the internet. Then you have the people who are actually not crying, who are like, oh, he's not going to remove the Medicaid. He said he's not going to remove it and all that. They still believe the fact that this whole thing is just a fabricated lie by some liberals. For them, okay, they believe that this is not true. This is not what he said. And I was so surprised to see a lot of people who actually read this bill, this big, beautiful bill, okay? People that read it are not coming out to say, truly, there is going to be a cut in Medicaid. There is going to be a cut in SNAP benefits and all of that. While you have people who are saying that he said he's not going to do it. So which one are we going to believe? The people who said he said that he's not going to do it, who still believe that he's not going to do it because he said that is what he's not going to do that, okay? Believing in his word and all that. Or we are going to believe people who actually read the bill that is about to be passed, because if this bill gets passed right now, everybody's just going to feel it. Both the people who want the whole SNAP benefit thing, or who are using the SNAP benefit and all that, moms, right, women who have kids who applied for SNAP benefits, people who cannot afford to keep up their homes and all that. Just a lot of people who are going through stuff, who need help with the SNAP benefit. They are all about to lose their SNAP benefit if this cut happens. Remember, beginning of the tenor, you remember that even Doge actually wants to start cutting some things to reduce waste for the government, and this might just be one of those cuts, right? Those ways to reduce waste from the government, because they believe that they're spending so much in making people who are not interested in working, they feel that some people are not interested in working, or people are not really working hard to keep their every day-to-day activities, and they believe that people should work even more better to make life better for themselves, and not the government paying for all of that. But you guys, you know that people are working. Even the people who earns a lot of money are still complaining that they cannot even afford, like they can't afford better life. Some of them can't even afford healthcare. Like somebody was crying one time and was saying that once you lose a job, you can no longer have access to healthcare. Just imagine that. So now imagine people who do not have job at all. Do you understand? So a lot of people are trying their best to make life better for themselves, but it just looks as if life is not even getting better at all. No matter how they try, no matter how they push, life still gets very hard. And that's just it, right? But right now, if this whole bill is passed, you guys, I really want to know what will happen, what you think will happen if this whole bill is passed, what you think will happen for both MAGAs and everyone, because it's not just MAGAs that will be feeling the heat. Every other person, we would definitely feel the heat, right? This is what they talk about, consequences. elections actually do have consequences, and this might just be one of those consequences that a lot of people were talking about those days, that voting has consequences and nobody should run away from that consequences, like the MAGA who is talking about this was not what he voted for. Well guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Let's have that conversation. Please go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up so that more people can see it, guys. I look forward to seeing you all on my next video. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time, guys. Bye.